This is the main crypto event, the true battle of the heavyweights. Crypto's top two projects, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Which do you prefer? Which would you rather hold? That's the question we're asking today. What's preferable, 1 Bitcoin or 32 ETH? Most of us right now realistically can't hold both because the price tag is pretty high. The cost to do so, owning 1 Bitcoin as well as 32 Ethereum, would be well over $90,000. So most of us have to make a choice here. What are the pros? What are the cons? And who do you think is going to win? Let's start the battle. Welcome guys to the channel. My name is Maddie and this is Altcoin Buzz. Maybe you already own 1 Bitcoin and 32 ETH. Maybe you own neither. If you choose to invest in any way, I do wish you all the very best of luck, but I'm not a financial or investment advisor. And so of course this video is not official financial or investment advice. So like I mentioned, we're going to weigh both the pros and the cons of owning both 1 Bitcoin and 32 Ethereum. Let's start with the pros associated with 32 Ether. So our pro 32 ETH argument starts with the simple fact that we cover altcoins here on the channel. Altcoin Buzz, it's in our name. And Ethereum, of course, is the king of altcoins. We are big fans of altcoins generally because they have disproportionate upside. We're called Altcoin Buzz, not Bitcoin Buzz. We have respect for Bitcoin, but altcoins can really shoot up in value in a way that Bitcoin cannot. And don't worry, I realize that Ethereum is still a massive project. It's not about to 100x overnight, I get that, but 32 ETH is the amount you need if you wanted to run your own validator. That would increase your returns as well. And the price of Ethereum is up nearly 5% as I record today. Let's round up just for ease of calculation here. Let's call it $2,000. So if one were to acquire 32 ETH, it's a pretty simple calculation, 32 times $2,000 per token. It's going to cost you $64,000. So that right there is an important differentiation because 32 ETH cost a lot more to acquire than 1 Bitcoin, which sits right now just above $30,000. So it's $64,000 versus $30,000 and change. It's a big difference, admittedly. In fact, as of this recording, 32 Ethereum cost more than twice as much as 1 Bitcoin. Does that mean ETH is more valuable or more scarce? No, not necessarily. Ethereum has almost 277 million unique addresses. The circulating supply is 120.4 million. So that means the average holder per address has 0.52 ETH if you crunch the numbers. And like many projects, they are top heavy. ETH, of course, is more top heavy than most. That's just the reality. The top 100 holders hold 39% of all the ETH. So the top 100 of those 227 million unique addresses, the top 100 hold nearly 40% of all ETH. So this represents a major skew in the data. It means that of these 227 million ETH holders, the vast majority are actually holding very, very little. 0.52 ETH may be the average, but it's not representative here of what the average person is in fact holding. And Ethereum has a great ecosystem. When it comes to this variable, Ethereum wins over Bitcoin hands down. More apps, more protocols, more volume, and fees than Bitcoin's ecosystem. But that being said, the high concentration of ETH ownership is a negative. It's not necessarily concerning to me, although you may have a different opinion. Let me know if that's the case. It's not concerning or discouraging to me, but it's not a great look, admittedly. Okay, and on that note now, let's transfer into the cons of owning 32 ETH. First of all, despite being number 2 overall and the clear leader in DeFi and NFTs, Ethereum still sucks when it comes to usage. And I'm definitely not exaggerating when I'm saying that because it could very easily lose its number 2 position. Just think about all the quality competitors that are at Ethereum's heels. Cosmos has better integrated apps and protocols. BNB Smart Chain is faster with lower fees. Bitcoin is more secure. Solana is gaining ground fast on NFTs. Polygon's user experience vastly exceeds Ethereum's in every way, and ETH has near total reliance on L2s when it comes to using apps. Ethereum's status, therefore, as the silver to Bitcoin's gold is not necessarily something that's set in stone. It could change. You never know what's going to happen. And speaking of unexpected events, earlier in April, we had a $25 million exploit by someone attacking MEV bots. And Ethereum, unfortunately, is full of hacks, exploits, and security leaks. That is the reality. And that never happens with Bitcoin or its ecosystem. Never has, because it's extremely difficult to do so with Bitcoin's high hash rates. Yes, Ethereum leads now, but it has lots of competition. So Polygon, for example, which has both its own sidechain and L2 solutions for ETH, they just passed Ethereum in number of daily active addresses for the first time. Additionally, Ethereum is far more centralized than many would like to admit. So first, we have the high concentration of ownership as mentioned earlier. Then there's the 70% pre-mine that took place at its creation. And lastly, we've unfortunately already seen that the Ethereum network can censor transactions at the US government's request. Therefore, it is definitely not censorship resistant as a network. Governments don't fear Ethereum. They collaborate with Ethereum. But governments do fear Bitcoin. All right, let's talk about Bitcoin for a little bit. We'll start with the pros. For context, most of us at Altcoin Buzz do use some Ethereum or EVM app on a daily basis. If you're watching this video, you probably do as well. But as I just mentioned, governments don't fear Ethereum. They don't work to ban Ethereum. Bitcoin is the king of decentralization. And BTC is the biggest threat to government-issued fiat money. And that should tell you something about its value as well, and how powerful it is, not only in terms of a currency, but as an idea, really. Bitcoin is the king. It is the most decentralized project and the only threat to government-issued fiat money. So let's begin with the fact that it's less concentrated in terms of its ownership than Ethereum. Bitcoin's ownership is in way more hands than Ethereum. There are 45.7 million holders of the 19.3 million Bitcoin in circulation. That means the average holder has 0.42 Bitcoin. So that's more per average holder than Ethereum. And unlike that metric of the top 100 ETH holders owning 39%, the top 100 Bitcoin holders own only 13.6%. It's still a big number, but it's a huge difference when compared to Ethereum. In fact, across the board, all ownership and decentralization metrics are stronger and less concentrated for Bitcoin. Institutions also prefer Bitcoin. It is true that last fall, leading into the merge, Ethereum got much more institutional interest than usual. And that's especially since these institutions can stake it easily enough on Coinbase or Binance and also earn a rate similar to treasuries on their Ethereum. But overall, institutions still much prefer Bitcoin. Now, to be fair, many are bullish on both, that's true. But that being said, there is more trading activity for Bitcoin. More companies at the end of the day have Bitcoin on their balance sheets. We tend to think of MicroStrategy as the archetypal holder of Bitcoin. They are by far the leaders, owning 140,000. But the fact is that there are many companies out there that are also holding Bitcoin, admittedly in more modest numbers, but there are a lot of other companies holding Bitcoin. Legendary venture capitalist, investor, and Bitcoin bull Tim Draper is telling his portfolio companies and making the general recommendation to hold at least 2 payrolls worth of cash in BTC. And those are pretty serious directives, especially if you consider that it's coming in the wake of US bank closures and a lot of inflation problems, all kinds of other issues that are coming to the surface right now. For the average American company, that's equal to 1 month of all employee salaries. Okay, fair enough, but now let's look at the cons associated with owning one BTC. And we have to discuss this in the context of layer 2 solutions like Stacks and Lightning that are growing and adding more services. But even with that in mind, the biggest knock on Bitcoin is that its best utility is simply to hodl. And its opponents are somewhat right. They point out that just to hold an asset and hope it goes up, it doesn't really represent utility for a cryptocurrency. And there is a little bit of truth to that argument. Now look, because Ethereum's ecosystem is larger and because everyone pays ETH for gas, the fact is that Ethereum, in terms of general day-to-day utility, is ahead of Bitcoin right now. This is a map that's almost 2 years old, and just look how big it is. It's much larger now, by the way. So objectively speaking, If your favorite part of crypto is DeFi, decentralized finance, or maybe NFTs, or games, or the metaverse, then you probably favor ETH more than Bitcoin, and rightfully so. But that being said, Ordinals does look like the real deal for Bitcoin. It remains to be seen. We have high hopes for that. But at the moment right now, Bitcoin is well behind Ethereum in terms of ecosystem utility. That's just how it is. All right, so here is our decision: 1 Bitcoin or 32 Ethereum. The fact is that both are getting more scarce. Bitcoin's inflation is 1.67%. And by the way, the next halving is about 12 months away, so that's coming up. Ethereum's inflation post-merge is 0.88%. Bitcoin is the most monetary, money-like, whereas Ethereum has the most protocols using it. So in the end, although I hold both, my own personal preference is that right now I would prefer to have 32 Ethereum. And that's not only because it's twice as valuable as 1 Bitcoin right now, but I think the upside is higher than holding 1 BTC at the moment. Like I said, I hold both. But if I had to choose, that would be my choice, 32 Ether. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know if my logic is off. That's my choice. Let me know what you decide in the comments below.